Alrighty y'all, welcome back to the channel. We're back on the internet together again today. Today's video, Australia made age verification mandatory for almost everything. To watch this original video and to support this creator, please go and click on the original link in the video description. Let's have a chat about it.
The government just quietly passed a law that means every app, every website, and every digital service that your child uses will require to verify their age before it can collect data on them. This is not just social media anymore, it's everything. So by the time today's kids are adults, they will have grown up in a world where you have to show ID to use the internet. And they won't even question it, because it'll be everything that they've ever known. And I said this would happen in previous videos. Heed my warning. This is just the start. They will move this from protecting under 16 kids, and then they will bring in the age verification process for lots of other things. These policies are a slow burn, and it will only get worse. The laws are being put in place and are being used as justifications for the ongoing overreach. So I want to show you...
So a thing here as well, people will say, well, what do you care for? What do you care? Because I've raised concerns about this in the past. But go, what have you got to hide? So people are fully okay with government having full surveillance on their entire life. Not that we don't already with microphones in phones and TVs and smart cars and other smart devices that hear everything you say. You guys know what I'm talking about. You're talking about, I don't know, buying a new couch, and next thing you know, you go on Facebook or Instagram or something, any sort of website, and the ad banners on there are all about couches. It's a bit too much of a coincidence, isn't it? I don't believe in coincidence. People go, what are you worried about? You're not Jeffrey Epstein. What are you got to worry about? They're going to uncover something about you, or you're Tony Mockbell. You know, you're not that high profile. You're not trying to run away from people. So why do you care? I care because I don't think it's right that any one body, government, anybody, company can have full access to everything you're doing at any given time. People don't care. They go to these reward programs. You give them your address. You give them your phone number to get a few points. You don't realise that you're giving them all your purchasing information, how you live. You're essentially telling them what you eat, when you eat it, when you buy things, why you buy them, what do you buy the other things with. Arming large corporations with information. No one seems to think about that. Why do you think they're giving you away free rewards points? To entice you to give them your personal data.
3 things. The first one, I'm going to show you the evidence that the social media age ban that came in December 2025 is not working. The one the government said would protect kids, and they already knew that it wouldn't. The second...
Because it's not going to work. Think about when you were 16 years old or 15 or 14 years old and you wanted to watch adult material or access something that you weren't supposed to. You find a way to do it. Kids are very, very clever. They find a way to circumvent just about everything. They'll find it. They're better with technology than most of us. They've grown up with it ever since they were children. They've got bloody iPods and iPads in their hands and iPhones and all this sort of stuff. They know how to look up information, how to circumvent things, VPNs, what other applications. Of course, it was never going to work. It wasn't about that. That's the bleeding heart stuff that people vote for and people are happy about it. No, you've got to think about the kids. The government cares about the kids. If they're worried about kids accessing adult material, they're going to lose that battle because they've been losing it forever. You got kids down in the 70s and 80s looking at porno magazines down in the park. They borrow they steal the tape off their dad, the VCR tape, the one that's been worn out because it's done the rounds around the group. Played and reversed and rewinded. You can't beat it.
is a brand
And now once that got through, once that got up, you've heard nothing else about it, have you? Have you had any information about is it working? Has it been effective? Are kids still able to access the internet or material that they deem unacceptable for adolescent consumption?
new law published just weeks ago that extends age verification beyond the social media that they originally instigated to almost the entire internet. Baby monitors, school apps, photo sharing tools, and gaming platforms. And the third, and this is the part that nobody is connecting, both of these laws land in the same month as Australia opening its digital ID system to private companies, banks, telcos, retailers, and social media companies. 3 policies, the same month, December 2026. So by the end of this video, you'll see exactly what is being built here. It's all related, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. I've already done some videos on this part, so feel free to go back and have a look at them. But number one on our list, it follows the aftermath of the December 10, 2025 Australian social media ban. Australia became the first country in the world to ban children under 16 from social media. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, all the platforms gone for anyone under the age of 16. And the government's justification was mental health, cyberbullying, and addictive algorithms. At the time, 77% of Australians agreed. A YouGov poll showed nearly overwhelming public support. I don't think that they realized what was coming. And here's what the mainstream headlines do not tell you. To enforce this ban, platforms had to verify that users are over 16. And the methods that they were permitted to use were facial recognition, government documents, and bank accounts, typically. So anyone over the age of 16 in Australia needed to...
And it's the thing people say, it's not just about the verification, it's think about where this is going. Are we going to be like China? Because that's definitely where we're headed, where you can, everything's done through applications and platforms, and you can be shut out of them if you're not behaving yourself. They're already trying to phase out cash, and that seems to be an effort to do this, in my honest opinion. But that's a topic for another day. Cashless society. If you don't behave yourself, if you don't stay in line, if your credit score isn't good enough, or you do things that are perceived as unsavory, you're cut off. And it also encourages, well, human nature, which is ratting people out, telling on other people, trying to suck up and get in the good graces of the system. Let's look about what happened during the pandemic response. And who knows what's going to happen now with the upcoming fuel crisis that I dare say is on the horizon, and a fair chance of potentially happening if things don't get sorted out quick smart. They'll have fuel bans and they'll have people dobbing people in. Oh, you used your lawnmower. You can't use your lawnmower. Anyway, I'm going off the rails here, but you guys know what I'm talking about. This is where this will end up. You hear in China, people getting cut off from their finances for whatever reason. They end up on the street.
Submit some of these documents or facial recognition to these platforms. That's what was passed into law, and almost nobody, except a handful, pushed back, including myself. Here's the thing that they don't want to be in the headlines. It didn't work. Before the ban even launched, Australia's own e-safety regulator released a report. Buried in that report was this: 80% of Australian children aged 8 to 12 were already using social media in 2024. Every single platform was relying only on self-declaration, so kids just typed in a fake birthday. 8 to 12-year-olds, not even teenagers, literal 8-year-old children, on platforms that technically banned them, getting in by just writing down a completely wrong birthday. And after the ban launched, ABC News reported that, quote, many children have already been able to get around the ban in various ways. And I covered some of the ways in previous videos. By March 20...
Think about when you were a young kid. I'm probably speaking more to the guys here. And your parents had Foxtel, or they had some other cable TV that was all the rage in the 90s and early 2000s. And they had all the adult channels that used to run all the softcore adult material on there. But they had it, if you didn't pay for it, it had the white and black fuzzy screen, right? The little ants running around, whatever you want to call it, the static. No, you just sit there and listen to it. Kids will just listen to it. They don't care. They'll find a way to access the stuff. Or there are ways that you could actually do it. I don't know how to do it, and I'm sure some Einstein in the backyard, instead of creating, embedding the society for mankind, he found a way to see the free adult material. Some little whiz kid.
2026, just 3 months after the ban began, the communications minister confirmed the government was formally investigating Facebook, Instagram, and a few other platforms for allowing children who had declared themselves underage to keep making new accounts and trying again. The world first landmark historic protection of children was being bypassed by 12-year-olds lying about their birthday. What did the government do? Did they admit that it wasn't working and reconsider? No, they expanded it, of course. Classic Australian government. They rolled out a system that was doomed to fail, and instead of reconsidering their mistake, they continued pushing the ridiculous rules. So moving on to our second issue, a brand new law was published for preview on March 31st, 2026. The Office of Australian Information Commissioner published a draft on something called the Children's Online Privacy Code. It's open right now for public consultation until June the 5th. and it becomes law in December 2026. When you hear Children's Privacy Code, you probably think, okay, more social media regulation, more of the same. It's not more of the same. The social media ban targeted 10 specific platforms. The Children's Online Privacy Code targets school management systems, online gaming platforms, and any service a child might access. So let's focus on that last one. Any service a child might access. Think about what that means. What service couldn't they theoretically access?
Just about every single thing. That's a really good pickup, isn't it? It's interesting how we've got, yes, there are some toxic behaviours and things that happen on online gaming. But what, they're going to go and regulate the gaming space for children under 16? It's very interesting. They should just have an option where you can't speak to people on the microphones.
This is the entirety of the internet that they're covering with this one statement. We're no longer...
I also think as well, I understand the argument they're using. I don't believe that is the true argument and why they're trying to bring it in, but I understand that there are parents out there that have children that are getting bullied severely online, and so they fall hook, line and sinker for all this stuff that the government's pushing out as well. You know, save the children. But I understand that's a horrible thing to have to witness as a parent. And children can be very cruel and come at kids at all times and hours of the day and go through social media platforms and chat services and continuously bully and torment somebody. You know what should be done there? Not put the whole country under surveillance. What should be done there is these kids who go and do this stuff, they can be charged. There's actually laws they put in against it that are enforceable, that these kids know if they go and bully somebody like that, incessantly cause them psychological harm, there is going to be a big, big problem. But there isn't anything like that.
We're longer talking about 10 social media platforms. We're talking about the internet. Again, they instituted a law to groom us into believing that we were protecting children and normalize identity verification for online services. Now, you might need to scan your child's face so they can check their timetable at school or play Fortnite with their friends. Here's the part of the code that I want you to pay close attention to, because this is the mechanism that makes everything else possible. The code says companies must, and I'm quoting the actual legislation, take reasonable steps to ascertain end users' age before collecting any further information about them. Before they collect your data, they need to know if you're a child. Sounds reasonable, right? Think about the logic for a second. To find out if someone's a child, you have to check the age of everyone, adults included. Age verification doesn't just screen children out, it processes every single user, adults, teenagers, everyone, and then separates them into categories. The check isn't, are you a child? The check is, how old are you? And that check applies to every Australian who touches any of these services, just like the social media ban. It's the classic we must protect children argument that results in the degradation of adult rights. So where does this justification come from?
The reality is the government doesn't care if you have rights or not. They're going to push this stuff out regardless. You can push back on it as much as you want. It's coming. It's the future society we're going to be living in. Who knows? If I want to go into full-blown Cooker land, you'll be walking around with a bloody Neuralink in your brain, and the government can monitor all your thoughts and everything you do and everything you see and everything you know, like the Minority Report. I call it science fiction, but I dare say that is just about predicting the future. We're going down a very interesting path in this country. And I dare say it looks like Australia is a test subject and the guinea pig for a lot of these things that a certain agenda is pushing out.
And the legislation boils down to what they claim are data points collected about children by the time they're 13 years of age. How many data points are they claiming? 72 million. That number wasn't pulled out of thin air, and it's not really made up. Once you contextualize it and understand where it comes from, it becomes a lot less daunting. So let's look at how they came to the outrageous claim that 72 million data points are collected about your child before the age of 13. The 72 million data points aren't sitting in a database somewhere in a single source. They're spread across thousands of unrelated advertising networks, and they include cookies, tracking pixels, page loading events, browser session tokens, And I know that might sound like some random jargon, but basically when you load a web page, you get all of these things in your browser. The research that produced this number originally came from an ad tech company studying how advertising trackers operate behind kids' games and apps. We're talking about data points like you visited this page, or you closed this ad, or you have an iPad. And let me show you just really quickly with a browser add-on called Ghostery, which shows you trackers, cookies, and more from loaded web pages. If we visit really, really common websites like Amazon or a newspaper website or even basic gaming websites, you can see that each time you visit one, there are anywhere between about 5 or 30 pieces of data collected. This is just generally a normal part of accepting how the internet works in 2026. They're not always personally identifying information for each user. Sure, if you collected enough of this information, you can sort of infer the age, location, and a few things about the user, but they don't know exactly who you are. They don't know anything personal really about you. These data points are the reason that why when you search for a plumber, the relevant location results show up. Or when you revisit a website, the item that you put in your shopping cart is still there. Is collection of this data concerning? Like maybe, but just telling Australians that the magic number of 72 million to scare them, it's not really the entire truth. Here is where the government...
And what are the government collecting on all of us? 72 trillion. As I said, I think it just reeks of just not being genuine in any way. I think anyone with two brain cells, even one brain cell, 1.5 brain cells, will be able to see that something just doesn't smell right here. It's just not stacking up. That's my honest opinion on it. For those who are all for it, I want to hear in the comments why. I guess I'm against it. I don't like monitoring. I don't like censorship. I don't like having any control over me that would be seen as unfair, or over any control over me in general beyond the rules of society, I guess, the law. Let alone someone being in my house and on every device I've got, which they already are anyway. Someone who can control your finances, shut you down. They can shut your car down while you're driving it. If you're all for that, tell me why. Do you think I'm overreacting? Like, I really would love to hear your thoughts on exactly why.
Logic falls apart. Their solution to 72 million distributed, largely anonymous advertising trackers is to collect your child's face data. This is a completely mask-off moment where you realize the evidence they presented is unjustified and the solution only motions their agenda rather than actually fix the problem. A cookie in your browser can be deleted, a browser can even be cleared. An advertising profile, as intrusive as it can be reset, blocked, or even transferred off your device. But the collection of your face, this is an immutable characteristic. You cannot reset your face. You cannot get a new face if it gets into a data leak.
You probably can. You can just go to a plastic surgeon, do a bit of that movie Face Off. In all seriousness, though, it's very scary. Data leak, they've got all your biomarkers, your whole face. Just imagine how screwed you are then, your whole identity owned by somebody else, taken, stolen. That can easily be done through people having your passport and credit cards or driver's license. Imagine they got your face.
You can close a tab and you can start fresh. Let's look at some of the stats around biometrics. So facial data is a biometric and it's becoming an increasingly security risk. Biometric identity theft rose 1,300% in 2024 alone. There have been major breaches for biometric data. There was a firm that exposed over 1 million fingerprints and facial recognition records, and the US government lost 5.6 million federal employees' fingerprints in a single hack. India's national biometric ID system, containing data on over 1 billion citizens, with a B, had admin access sold on WhatsApp for $8. So they sold their admin rights so someone could access that data for $8. These are some of the security concerns that a lot of people don't think about. And alongside the face scan, platforms are also permitted to collect your government ID, which risks identity theft on top of your biometrics. So the government looked at 72 million anonymous trackers spread across thousands of companies who can't talk to each other and decided the solution was to collect one piece of data so sensitive, so permanent, so uniquely tied to you as a human being that if it's ever breached, you're exposed for the rest of your life. That is not a solution to a data collection problem. That is trading 1,000 small risks for one catastrophic one. All right, I need to show you something. What I've told you so far with the social media ban, the Children's Online Privacy Code, those are the first two pieces of the puzzle. And I've been holding back the third piece because it really is the most important and might even be a video on its own soon. Without it...
So by the way, guys, I know I said at the start, this kid, or young man, kid, I'll call him a kid, looks kid to me. He's made a really good video, so go and check him out and just give him a view and a like and all that stuff. He's an up-and-coming creator, so I think credit is... Give credit where credit's due. I think he's done a very good job here. Very good job. Really enjoying his video. I'm really enjoying his video to the point where I'm not ranting as much as what I normally would. So there you go. There you have it.
The policies just look kind of silly. When you tie them all together, they look like something else entirely different. At exactly the same time, the Children's Online Privacy Code becomes law. The Australian government's digital ID system, MyID, that's been running in beta since 2024, private companies can apply to directly plug into the same government identity infrastructure. Banks, retailers, but most importantly, social media companies. At the same month that every digital service is going to be legally required to verify your age, it's the same month that the commercial sector has landed the tools to do it. This is not a coincidence. They are forcing digital ID compliance. Heed my warning. And let me give you a sense of the scale that we're talking about. In the first 12 months of the digital ID system being available, 15 million Australians signed up. For context, we only have 27 million people. More than half the country already has digital ID, and they got there in year one. And of course, the propaganda continues. The Australian government's own media release described it as Australia's choosing a simply safer way to prove who they are online. And I want you to sit with that word, choosing. Because right now, today, participation in the digital ID system is technically voluntary. Unless you want to register a business, you do need a digital ID. But ask yourself this, when every service you use legally needs to know your age, what is the most efficient way to prove your age? It's the government ID, the digital ID. So how long does voluntary last? We'll let that hang in the air a little bit. Let me close a few of the loops that we've opened here. Earlier I asked, why does the government keep expanding these laws when social media...
As I said, I was saying this earlier on. First we go on cashless society, then it's going to be all about control and monitoring the masses. And most people, they're fine with this. They're fine with being absolutely controlled without even questioning it. Big Daddy government, tell us what to do. Tell me how to live my life. Give me guidance. Give me safety. So what's going to happen, as I said, we're going to be living our lives with all our metrics and all that sort of stuff going within a digital identification platform. Who knows how that's going to look down the line. It'll start off with a digital ID and all of this, and all of a sudden it's all going to link up and you're going to have a full-blown demographic profile of everybody. What they're doing, what are your movements, where you're spending your money, what are you spending it on, what are you looking at on the internet, what are your likes, what are your dislikes. Like, it's a complete breach of privacy. Do you want what people go, well, what are you hiding? What do you want everyone knowing exactly what you look at on the internet, regardless of if it's adult material or not? It's such a thing as privacy, reading things that are just for you or doing things you don't have to tell everybody about what you're doing at all times. And this is what this is. That's what my biggest problem is with that. People wanting to know everything. And then who knows, or how's this information going to be used? I don't think it's going to be for good. I really don't. I think it's going to put more restrictions on our society, and I think people will then be scared to speak up or criticise the government anyway, because then you'll be bloody shut down like you're in China or go bloody missing. Or they'll wreck your social credit score, you can't spend any money, or no one will serve you, or you won't be able to access certain services. Like, you think it sounds nuts. It literally exists in another part of this world. So that's what I believe is coming.
Media ban clearly isn't working. And here's your answer. The goal is never to stop kids from using TikTok. The goal is to establish the principle in law, in public consciousness, that the internet requires identity verification. It's being normalized. We're normalizing this idea right now. And once the principle is law for social media, it's really, really easy for them to extend and push it onto everything else. So they create a law, they build the infrastructure, and then they normalize it across the private sector. The question of whether age verification should apply to adults too becomes much, much easier to answer. I believe, personally, that children of this generation are being groomed to believe that age verification on the internet is completely normal, and eventually you'll be required to do it for everything, with the easiest and most convenient way to verify being digital ID. Each step is defensible on its own. Everything we've talked about in isolation is framed around protecting someone vulnerable, but the direction of travel has never changed. More data, more verification, more identity, and less anonymity. And I want to bring up one more thing that I haven't really mentioned, because the loops that I'm closing aren't just about Australia. When we passed the social media ban in December, governments around the world were looking. France, the UK, Germany, all of them. As early as 2026, they were all considering, or most of them were considering bans or restricting, modeling based on what we did, Australia's approach to this. So we didn't just build an age verification system for us, it built a test.
That's what I'm saying. We are the guinea pig. We are the test subject. We are with that first case for observation, will people willingly accept it? Can we actually get away with doing this? Is this something that will work? We just accept everything here. I dare say most Australians are completely spineless. Don't challenge anything. Don't stand up for anything. What about getting locked down for that time? No one questioned it. And if you do question it, because I did, and I would raise it with friendship groups, they'll just single you out. They wouldn't talk to you anymore. They'd say you're the problem. You got to go along with what the government says. You're the problem. That's what we're dealing with here. That's why all these things get through, because most people don't have any critical thinking skills about what these things lead to. Anyway, let's watch it for a little longer and we'll call it a day.
Case for the entire world. And the test is, will the public accept it? And so far, yes. Australians just accept things. I don't get it. And even advocate for them, with the 70% stat that I gave at the start saying that it was positive, because it's the right thing to do. They prey upon our weakness of wanting a safe society. Let's continue circling. Think about a 10-year-old in Australia right now. By December this year, when they log into their school app, it'll ask for verification. When they open a game, age verification. When they use a family photo tool, age verification. Every single one of these services will have been told by law to establish who this child is before collecting anything about them. Now fast forward 15 years, the 10-year-old is now 25, and they've been verifying their identity to use the internet for their entire online life. It doesn't seem like surveillance to them, it's just how the internet works. They won't march in the streets when the government suggests that age verification should be permanent for all users, because they'll never have known any different. This is how
We're going to march in the streets anyway. Look, you do. What do we do? They did a march for Australia, and they label people complete nutcases. Your own countrymen, your only fellow people, in which you're trying to protest something that actually is impacting them as well. It's impacting everyone. Migration. They're having a go at you, calling you a racist because you've got guts to stand up and say no. We've had enough. That's the country we live in. The government knows it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. That's my rant for today. Please go and check this guy's channel out. I think he did a great job. Tech Win Cyber is his channel. You can find it linked in the video description. Go give him a like if you want to comment. Give him a big thumbs up. I thought it was really well done. Thank you for that. See you tomorrow.